What's up everyone, Yellow here, and today I'm going to be showing you an updated version of my best build in Godfall. I covered it in my previous video, so if you haven't seen that, you definitely want to watch that first, because this is really just going to go over some quick changes and things that I think help improve the build, as well as some questions you guys had on what to do if you don't have certain gear pieces. So again, this is going to be a very short video. If you enjoy it, please hit that like button, it does help me out, and if you'd like to see more Godfall content, consider subscribing. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing you'll notice is all my items are still the same, right? My spirit is just a little bit higher than it was before, but I'm still rocking my Sword of Courage. I'm still rocking the blue amulet that I've upgraded, Heartsong Amulet. I'm still using Lion's Talisman, which is an epic that I've upgraded to legendary. I'm still using Zweih's Embrace, which is a legendary ring. Blue ring, Ring of the First Sword. And then of course, I'm using Archon's Tear and then Messa's Banner. Now, really the only item that I got questions on from my last video was Zweih's Embrace. This is a legendary ring, and there are a few pieces of gear that you can use to replace this, so I just want to cover those real quick. Now again, this is only if you don't have Zweih's Embrace. If you have Zweih's Embrace, use it. But if you don't, the first ring that I want to recommend to you guys is a blue ring that everyone should have access to. This is the Dreamer's Band. This ring just increases your weapon technique charge speed, which is great since that's what the build is focused around. So make sure you get a good secondary and upgrade this ring to a legendary and you'll be good to go. And then the second ring option you have is a legendary ring called Ancestral Band. Whenever you hit a weak point, you gain 2% Archon Fury charge, and your charge speed is boosted by a significant amount for 10 seconds. This ring is really good the higher you go in the tower. However, I'd still prefer the first ring we covered, the Dreamer's Band, over this long term. Alright, now that we've got the items done, let's move on to the augments. I'm going to run through the ones that haven't changed really quickly, just to recap those. That's going to be Frostfire, Paradise, Focus, Endurance, Lion's Pride, and Wolf's Fury. Now, the first new augment that I'm going to show you is Resilience. I used this to replace Void Shell. When I posted my last video, I got a lot of comments telling me Void Shell was bugged, and since this build is based on so much overhealth, I really had no idea. So I went through, I took a look and see what worked, and Resilience works out really well. This basically gives you an additional 140 overhealth every single time you soul shatter an enemy, which is a perfect replacement for Void Shell. So if you didn't have Void Shell or you were wanting a replacement, use Resilience. Another bonus to using Resilience instead of Void Shell is it clears up an additional 15 augment power usage slots. So with that, you can actually use a Spirit Augment. Now, there aren't a lot of good Spirit Augments for this build, and in fact, the only one I found that I think works really well with it is Divine Conduit. Now, this gives you an extra 50% Arcane Fury charge speed for 10 seconds whenever you take any damage. On top of that, once I upgrade this to level 5, I'll be able to add an additional 100 might or 100 vitality. So overall, because of this, I actually think switching Void Shell to Resilience is a permanent change, even once they fix Void Shell. And now, the final major thing that I want to cover in the video is the Augment Surety. This is, in my opinion, the best augment in the game, but I noticed from a lot of the comments, a lot of people don't have it, and they were wondering what they can use instead of Surety. So I feel there's 3 legendary augments that can replace Surety and do a well enough job with this build. Now again, just to be clear, you're only going to use these if you don't have Surety, but the first one that I want to talk about is Prismatic Globe. This augment works really well since Finesse is maxed out in this build. This gives you an additional 35% critical hit chance against full health enemies, meaning that if your first attack is a sprint attack because of Finesse, you're going to do an insane amount of damage. The second option you have to replace Surety is the Augment Carnage. This gives you 3% critical hit damage for every 20 might on adjacent augments. With this build already having so much crit, this is just a great way to add additional crit hit damage. And then finally the third option, Black Star. During Rampage, your attacks cannot be interrupted if adjacent augments grant at least 300 might. I think this augment speaks for itself and why it's a great option. It's probably the one that I would take last of the 3 replacements, but it's still a good option. Other than that, here's the skill tree in case you didn't watch my first video, which does go a lot more in depth into the gear pieces, talents, and why the build works. Again, with this build, you can easily clear to above floor 50 in the Tower of Trials. So if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend checking it out, and it should pop up as an option to watch after this. So please hit that like button if you enjoyed the video today. Thank you all for watching, enjoy your day, and I'll see you next time.